emodels.co.uk. Make something awesome.
Hi everyone, welcome to part 9 of the Trumpeter U552 U-Boat, the video build from Ted at emodels.co.uk. Firstly, I must apologise if you've been watching these videos. There's been a bit of delay between part 8 and part 9. There's a couple of things that have happened, but we're on with part 9 anyway. We're at the bench. You may notice that things are a little bit different. That's one of the things why there's been a delay, because I've moved house. So I've got a temporary bench set up and able to get back on with the video. Anyway, what we're going to look at this time is these guys, the crew. I've dropped one. There he is. There he is, the crew from the U552. There's the skipper. There's this one. We'll see him in a minute anyway. We'll have a look at the crew, get some painted, I hope. See you in a moment. Okay, right, before we get on, I thought we'd introduce you to the crew. This is obviously the Capitan, leader of his team, and moving around some of the watch keepers. I'll be out on the bridge wing. Then we go around and find some of the diesel engine room fitters. There's the chef. And then we move on back onto the casing. This chap here, he's helping loading some of the torpedoes, and there's some of his comrades. There are 48 figures in this submarine. I'm sure as we look around and have a look at some of them, you'll see that one or two are quite duplicated. There's a little hair on the arm of that one. I'll have to take that off. Not quite sure what he does. Let's have a look. I think he's maybe one of the torpedo crew. Some guy's having a rest there. He's in the crew quarters, as is that chap, maybe having his lunch. Somebody there from the control room, I think one of the planesmen. Oh, sorry, bit of nudity. Oh, he has got his shorts on, never mind, won't disturb him. He's on his iPhone. And somebody deep in thought, the thinker. There's the navigating officer. And that looks like his bodyguard. Bit of a bruiser. Now we come to somebody that maybe has a headache. And another guy here in his Nike shorts. Likes to keep himself fit. A few stray hairs there weren't taking off. And here we have some of the gun crew. And the yellow life jackets. And there we go. Back to the skipper. So that's the crew. Let's say 48 of them. We'll now go along and have a look how they're all painted up. Mystery on the cutting mat. Right. Yeah, so we've got the crew. We need to paint them. What we're going to paint them with? First thing we need is some paint. Yeah, well, I use this. This set here, it's the Flesh Paint set from Life Colour. Yeah, I like them. I've painted, well, obviously you've seen all the crew that I've painted. I've not just done 1/48 scale, I've done figures in 1/35 as well using this. Now as we get down to 1/48 scale, I don't think we're too bothered about sort of shadows on the cheeks and under the eyes and chin and highlights on the nose and things like that. We will have a little go just to sort of make the figures look a little bit better, but I like these. They're a nice high pigment content paint. They really are thin. They're nice and thin and really go on without causing that thickness and build up of pigment, especially on their small figures. Yeah, as you get into the bigger range of figures this sort of size, there is Sterling, David Sterling, I think. I can't see because he's black. Sprayed in black. Anyway, yeah, that's a sort of figure. Getting into that range, you can use different pigments, thicker pigments, but I think probably something like that would be painted more in ours. But we're going to use these. These are water-based acrylics, and they're really quite good. I'll show you how to use them. I might not be using them in the official approved way. Some people might end up shouting at this video, "You're not doing it right," but this is my way. I think I produce an acceptable looking figure. Yep, so we'll have a look at them. Right, so put them out of the way. What else do we need? Paintbrushes. I've got a selection. I've just picked up a selection here. We might use some smaller ones or some bigger ones. I think the biggest one we will use though is I think this is about a size 2. It doesn't actually say on it. It just says large brush. This is about a size 2. A nice round brush. So that, and then a couple of detail brushes or fine detail brushes with pointy tips. Try and keep them nice and straight and clean. Using a proprietary brush cleaner at the end of the day, and it keeps them all nice and straight, so we use them. Next, yeah, a wet palette. I'm sure you'll have all heard or seen of the wet palettes in use by other people. This is mine. It's in an old plastic takeaway tub. It's just a J cloth in the bottom. A wet J cloth with a layer of baking parchment over the top. It's great to work from, because when you're blending, and we'll do a little bit of blending within the next painting segment that we're going to do. As you've already seen, I've done some in here as well. If you're blending, if you make a blend of paint and you want to leave it even overnight, maybe a couple of days, you can come back to it, and usually it's still sort of all wet and usable still inside. It does save your paint as well, so if you always put your paint on a wet palette, makes it go stronger, because you think that you put your paint onto a mixing palette and it'll dry up before your painting period's over. So yeah, we'll use that. Let's say we've done a bit in there already. What else? Yep. Mixing palettes. Yeah, I haven't got. Well, I do have one, but I can't find it. Since I moved house, I haven't a clue where it is. It's probably in a box somewhere. But what I do use is these. The tablet. What my tablets used to come in. For those of you that don't know, I spent a little bit of time in hospital, unfortunately, and I've come out with a lifetime supply of tablets. So yeah, I shall have a never-ending supply of mixing palettes. These are good. If you have pots of paint, never sort of apply direct from the bottle. Usually put it on a mixing palette or on some sort of receptacle, that's a good word, and mix up in there, especially the Valero or the AK come in dropper bottles. Squeeze a little bit out into there. That's it. So we use them. I have them ready anyway. some cotton buds, really just for mopping up messes. If you splodge too much onto a figure on the face or anything like that, a quick wipe, being water based, quick wipe, and you're hopefully recovered. Then you can start again. Right, that, and as usual for cutting off sprues, sprue cutters, cleaning up with knives, and I thought I had some sort of skinny sticks, that sort of thing. Going on, yep, and obviously something to clean your brushes. Gin. No, it's not gin. Right, we'll go on and get some painting done. Bye. Right, yeah, well, here we are. Here's the guys, here's them all. This is from the side of the box. It's the box art. Yeah, it was a huge box, so as you know, if you've been watching this, I did cut the box down, save the pictures, and threw the rest of it away because it's a huge box, just no way to keep it. As we said, it says there's 48 figures in the box. Some of them are duplicates. You get 2 of these and 2 of them, 2 of these. So some of them I didn't really think were worthwhile. One, painting all 48 figures, painting this lot once was enough, but to paint 48 of them, yeah, I don't really want to do all that. So it does leave a few spares, but it's up to you. If you want to leave some out or put some in, do them all. Yeah, you can fill your boat with them. Yeah, but yeah, you can have 2 cooks if you want. Oh, that's a cook. No, that's a cook. That's a cook. Yeah. Yeah, but all the guys are there. Inside the box, it comes with all the colour call-outs and tells you what parts to go where. Yeah, having a few extra figures does leave you the option of a few different heads, but they don't always fit, so you'd have to try them if you want to move a few heads around. It's a bit weird that, doesn't it, move heads around. But yeah, as I've said, because some of these guys are duplicates, yeah, you're going to have them looking like brothers or twins. And also, it seems that Trumpeter haven't cast every individually. That's a lot of individuals. Yeah, it seems like the head off this guy here might be the same head that's on that guy there, so they won't look any different. There's more call outs on the back as well. Yeah, sometimes the guy with the cap here has a striking resemblance to the guy here. So yeah, if you were placing them together, yeah, if somebody was looking too close, I'd think, well, yeah, well, you could just say they were brothers, but never mind. Yeah, so that's it. So you just got to be aware that some of them do look the same, or they are the same people, in fact. Anyway, that's the colour call-outs. It tells you on the top here. It gives you the recommended colours for Mr. Hobby, Viero, Model Master, Tamiya and Humbrol, where appropriate, where there's appropriate colours available. I've used some of them, not all of them. Certainly haven't just used the flesh colour, or what does it say, H44. Yeah, it just says up here, Mr. Hobby Flesh, Valero and Humbrol, just one layer. Yeah, if you wanted to do that, you could do that, just make them all one colour. But anyway, we'll get that out of the way. How do your figures come? Obviously on a sprue. Oops, whacking the camera. Obviously on a sprue, which needs cutting off. Yeah, you'll see I've coloured this lot on the sprue. Not often I do that. It's just I think I had some black primer left over in the airbrush, so I thought I'd give these a coat while I was at it. But that's one of the sprues. The figures themselves are not the best of mouldings. Probably done separately to maybe they're done separately and brought in from a contractor to go in the kit. They're not the best of mouldings. They're a little bit soft, but they're passable. Use your cutters, cut them off, and then assemble them. I won't bother showing you how to assemble figures. Oops. But this is what I've done. Right, let's get the camera zoomed in and you can have a look at him. Here we are. Here's the guy that we saw before. Remember the one that said he had a headache? Here he is. Let's get him out. There he is. That's him in his painted state. Just relaxing. He's actually relaxing on the bed, on his bunk, or will be. This is him prior to being painted. The white patches and things are just where he's been cut off the sprue and cleaned up. But we're not going to bother too much about that. These are not going to be figures that I'll actually use in the boat itself, because the duplicates, I'm just going to use them to sort of show you how we go about painting them. First things first, what I normally do, assemble them, and then because they are quite small, they're often difficult to sort of handle while you're being painted, so I glue them to a bit of sprue, just an old sprue. Just glue them where they're not, where the contact isn't going to be seen. They will cut or snap off quite easily. I'm trying to keep it in focus for you. Not that I know anything about being out of focus, but yeah, just they just make it nice and easy to handle, and then when they're drying, you can stick them in a piece of polystyrene or something like that. So whatever. But yeah, here we go. Right, let's get the first coat on. I'll get some paint out, and we're ready to paint. Oh yeah. Right, we're almost ready to start painting. A lot of these figures to get through. Just before we do go on to painting, the number of figures in the boat and the figure painting might put one or two people off. You could still use the figures, and I've thought of a way of doing that if you weren't perhaps into figure painting. What I've seen when I've gone around museums and galleries and things like that is sometimes that the mannequins portrayed in a scene are not so much lifelike, they're just painted basic. I just thought it might be an idea. If you didn't want to paint your figures, this one's red, you could paint them in any colour. I think the in the smaller scale Revell U-boat, the figures actually come blue, and they're that plasticky type vinyl figure that doesn't really take to paint, and I think that's what they're intended for, so that your figure was actually just a representation of such. Yeah, if we bring him up, we'll bring him into focus so you can have a look at him. All I've done with him is just give him a coat of black primer, and then I've just given him like a first coat of red in this case, and I thought that with just the black sort of underneath, give it that sort of non-human type look. But that's just an idea anyway. But what we're going to do, get on with this guy. We'll give him his first coat, so just drop him down and we'll get the first coat out of the way. Just give it a good shake. These are quite high pigment paints, so you need to make sure, excuse me, rattling in the background, you need to make sure that the pigments are well sort of mixed within the bottle. Don't try and to take things out of the bottle with your paintbrush. It'll ruin your paintbrush and your ferrule will be full of paint and you'll never get it out. So that's about it. That's it. Oops, it's just in there. Only need a little drop just for the time being. Just an old sprue, just clean up a little bit. And then with the size 2 brush, I'll bring him up, bring him back into focus so it's not all done in the distance. I can focus this camera now. There we go, something like that. All we want to do with this one is just take some paint from the wet palette, just spread it about a little bit, and that's what your thumb's for. You can use your thumb just to make sure that you're thin enough and you're not going to go all over your figure with a great splodge. So just as you can see, it's a nice thin paint and it just goes over nice and smoothly. Don't worry about filling it in or blocking everything in. Just want a first coat, and the black will help sort of give some natural shadows and things. And then okay, so I'll just get on and paint this figure up. All we're doing, we're just going all over the areas of the skin and just giving it the first coat in flesh base. Okay, right, I'll get painting. There we are. A little blotchy. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about painting over his clothes or his shoes or anywhere else. We're just looking to get the first coat of flesh base on, and that's all we need to do. It doesn't take long to dry now. Being an acrylic, it'll be dry within, well, I'll give it half an hour just to make sure it's hard and dry. You can blast it off, flash it off with a hairdryer if you wish, but time to go put the kettle on and I'll have a cup of tea. It's up close, I forgot. See you in a moment. What? No hobnobs? Oh well, back to painting. Oh well, that's the second coat put on, and it doesn't really look too bad in that. That's just the base flesh. That one. If I find it, yeah. Flesh base, number 1. And it doesn't really look too bad. You could perhaps leave him like that if you wanted to, just a coat of this, and you'd be sorted. But I thought we'd show you how to put a few little highlights on him, just to fetch out a little bit more detail. Hopefully you can see this, and we'll keep it close to the camera, and the workbench is actually a little bit out of focus, so if I fetch things up. What we've got in here now, we've just got a touch over here of flesh shadow. We've put it next to the flesh base because we're going to take our small paintbrush and just blend a little bit together, because what we're doing is lifting this first colour and moving it over to the dark colour, but we don't want it to be too harsh. We just want to tone it down, you know, we just want to darken it down a little bit, just to bring out some of the shadows. Now what we're going to do here, this is where your thumb comes in as well. We could just take a little bit off on our thumb, and then we can apply just a touch in the eyes. Just try to get this to the right angle so you can see it. It doesn't look like there's much in there, but I assure you there is. And across his lips. Now this guy's got a beard, so we'll look at painting that in as well. Go back just a touch more. We'll go a little bit darker, I think. Just we can compare it on our thumb. Flesh on flesh. It's a little bit darker, I think. There. So we can now go under. We can have a look around the body and all the shadow areas. Oops, out of view. We can give just a touch in of shadow. Do that all over. It's not just the eyes. Take a little bit more paint. I appreciate, as I say, the disc is a little bit out of focus because I've got it pulled in so you can see what's happening on the model. And then we can just put it down to central, just touch it in. Now it may not look like there's much happening, but when it dries it will be that shade darker, just to give some definition to the skin. As I say, in this 1/48 scale it's not going to be really a great sort of difference, but it's there. We know it's there. Just in his legs as well, back of his legs. And I could just go in his eyes, quite dark, I think. When we're in 1/48 scale, whites of the eyes, I don't think we'll bother with them at all. If you can do whites of the eyes on 1/48 scale, you're much better than me. So we're getting little bits of definition in there now, and the touches that we've given the creases and his muscles is adding a little bit of definition to him. Can do some down under his knees, just a touch, just a line under his knees. Don't worry if it's a little bit too blotchy at the moment, because what we'll do, we'll go back over with a flesh base and a really thin coat, and that will blend everything in. And bring it all back together. So that's that bit done. Next I'll go across and let this dry, and then I'll go across it with a really watery flesh base. This bit here, we'll go back to this, use this again, just really a translucent coat of that, which will pull the shadows in, and then we can look at some highlights. Alright, let this dry and then I'll go and do that, and it's looking a lot better already. Alright, in a moment. Okay, what we've done here, we've now finished all the shadow, and you can see there's a bit more definition on this guy's legs and his arm, underneath the chin as well. We've blended the sort of the light flesh and the shadow as well, and if you see in his eyes, he looks a bit, this close up he looks a little bit Frankensteinish, but I assure you when he's back a little bit, yeah, see if I can get it in focus, when he's back here a little bit, he does look a lot better. In fact, it's probably an idea that if you are painting figures like this, is to first of all get them back in focus and then paint them using your camera. If you do, yeah, anyway, that's another matter. But yeah, it is looking a little bit better than he does before, and he certainly looks a bit better from a distance. What we're going to do now, we're going to use some flesh light to do some highlights on him, and this will really be the last stage of the flesh painting for this scale of figure anyway. What we're going to do, we're going to just take a small brush, a fine brush, and a drop of flesh light just in the tray. Just load the brush up, not too much, but and now once again just use your thumb just to take the excess off. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to touch on the parts of the body that would sort of catch the light. Over his eyebrows, just over his eyebrows, just a gentle touch, not too much. Remember, if these being water-based acrylics, if you do too much, try to keep it in short. If you do too much, just a Q-tip just to wipe it all off and start again. So there on his brow, bridge of the nose, you can maybe just touch on the cheeks if you want. Depends how much you want to do, really. Now we can go across here, and we could, this guy's going to be lying on his bed on his side like this, so we could just touch a top on the top of his shoulder like this. Use a little bit of water if you wish, just wet the brush and then just blend it in, just to give it a false impression of light hitting the subject. So we can blend using the water to blend. You can see how the highlights are just beginning to pick up. We don't need too much of this. And down on his knees, just a touch. We could just dry that paint off, and we could just touch it and just blend it just before it dries. Just touch and blend. Try moving it up a little bit more and just blend it in. That's all we really need to do with this figure. As I say, this sort of isn't perhaps the most accepted way of painting figures. It might not be the correct way, but it works for me. So just using the 3 paints out of a set of 6 from the Life Colour Flesh Paint set, just using the 3, 1, 2, 3, and there's lots of infinite variations within this box. There's the 6 paints, and as you can see, what we've been doing in here is just blending them together just to sort of make him a little bit more acceptable. As I said, this close up to the camera, yes, he does look a little bit Frankensteinish, but I assure you, when he's sort of a bit of a distance away, he'll look a lot better. After all, these are just an accessory to the submarine itself. They are the crew, yeah, but it's a submarine that's taking centre stage, and these are just to add a little bit of life to it. So you want to make them all lifelike. If not, don't forget, you can paint them in a non-lifelike colour, just as a representation of the people in the submarine. But that's it. Yeah, go on and paint his clothes. If you can find his mate over here. No, I can't find him. Where's he gone? Oh, I think we've had a deserter. Anyway, here's his mate. Just dress him as you want, but the suggestions are a white shirt, even white shorts, but I've just given them a little bit of colour. Painting the bodies. Here's the guy. Once again, it's painted the same effect. He hasn't had his beard painted yet. Painted the same effect, just with the dark underneath the muscles on his chest and his stomach, just to give him a little bit of definition. It does work. Once this guy's all painted up, once the sort of flesh and that have gone off his clothes, he will look a lot better. Oh yeah, just before I finish, oh here he is. Found him. Yeah, so there we are. I'll go give him a coat of paint and a picture just before we finish. Alright, right, thanks for watching. This is the end of part 9. I'll go and have a look now what I can get on and do for the rest of the submarine. It's all coming together, there's not a lot left to do, so look out for part 10, which hopefully will come quicker than part 9 did. So thanks for watching, keep an eye out at the end just as I've painted him all up and finished him all off, and I'll see you next video. Bit of paint on that thumb. See you later.